It was 2 years ago, September 8th, coming up on the anniversary. First day of school. 4 of my children had gone off to school that morning. I was getting ready to run an errand, and then instant crushing pain in my neck and over my head. I then lost sensation in my hands and feet, and the light was so intense. I was holding my head hunched over and feeling very weak, feeling that I was drifting out, but trying to stay with it and trying to be lucid. I knew I was in rough shape, but then very quickly, almost a sense of thinking, I'm dying. They had me on the cart and put me in the ambulance, and I asked him, am I having a stroke? And my memory says, he said, we're not sure.
Debbie Leary was indeed having a stroke. Strokes occur when the blood supply to part of the brain is interrupted. People are starting to call strokes brain attacks because just like heart attacks, brain attacks can be killers. Every year, strokes kill 160,000 Americans, but there is hope. I'm Kat Carney, and in the next hour, what you learn about brain attacks could save your life or the life of someone you love.
Approximately 3 minutes from your facility with a 31-year-old female with acute complaint of right-sided weakness.
Have you ever wondered what happens when you arrive at an emergency room and the medical team suspects that you're having a brain attack? Just watch.
Blood pressure of 136/86.
While they're racing toward the hospital, the ambulance driver sends an alert that a patient is on her way, and she may be having a stroke.
We'll see you in about 2 minutes. Any questions?
No questions. We'll be expecting in 2 minutes. Can you call the stroke team for me, please?
To see firsthand how paramedics and doctors respond in a stroke emergency, I'm playing the part of a patient.
You take both arms, put them up like that.
The paramedic is checking my limbs for numbness and weakness, which can be signs of a stroke. This year alone, more than 750,000 Americans will have a brain attack, making stroke the nation's 3rd leading killer and a major cause of disability.
Do a quick neurological exam just to see how you're doing right now.
This is Dr. Chuck Posner. He's in charge of patients who just arrived in the ER.
Numbness in my right arm, and just the side of my face felt a little numb and looked like it was sagging.
After a preliminary exam, Dr. Posner calls in a stroke specialist, Dr. Italo Linfante. Dr. Linfante checks very precisely for what parts of my body are affected.
And hold them straight like
If
this.
I have weakness in my right arm, it can indicate a stroke on the left side of my brain.
And no other medical problems, no high blood pressure.
He's asking me questions to see if my answers are incoherent or inconsistent, signs of a brain attack. The final diagnostic step takes me to the MRI suite. This is an MRI scanner, which uses magnets and radio waves to produce images of human tissue. With these images, doctors can determine a stroke's severity, type, and location.
The patient had a weakness on her right side of her body.
Dr. Gottfried Schlaug shows me how the MRI pinpoints the extent of the damage.
So this area here that is bright, this is actually the acute stroke. And this area here on the blood flow image tells us there's a larger area that is actually at risk that we can potentially salvage.
At this hospital, it takes only 30 to 45 minutes from the time a patient enters the ER until the MRI is analyzed and treatment can begin. This speed is crucial.
We neurologists say time is brain. We need to do things as quick as possible because the quicker we are, the more brain we can salvage. And the faster we actually restore blood flow, the better the outcome is.
Okay, so let's get really clear on what a brain attack is. It's damage caused by blocked blood flow to the brain or by a ruptured blood vessel in the brain. Is that clear? No? Oh, I got it. Show and tell time. Imagine that this hose is a blood vessel in your brain, and the water is the blood flowing just the way it ought to. Okay, now I'm really gonna mess things up. I'm gonna cause a stroke, a brain attack. Let's pretend that this is a blood clot, and I'm going to put it into a blood vessel in the brain. Okay, let's see what happens. No blood flow. The clot plugged it up, and starved for blood, the brain cells nourished by this blood vessel, they will start to die.
A clot can form anywhere in the circulatory system. Sometimes one travels through the bloodstream and lodges in the brain. When a blood vessel becomes blocked, an area of the brain is deprived of the oxygen and sugar the blood supplies, and brain cells start to die. On September 27, 1998, a blood clot entered Janine Kurth's brain, causing a stroke.
Well, it was a Wednesday night. I was home watching television. I went to use the remote control. My hand felt funny. I didn't feel pins and needles necessarily. I just couldn't seem to make the buttons work. And I kind of just was weaving. I couldn't get any kind of a balance going. I was aware of everything that was happening. I knew I was trying to communicate, but I was kind of talking like, you know, it was very, very muddled. And so fortunately, Glenn was here to take over.
Within minutes, Janine couldn't use her right arm at all. Her husband, Glenn, called 911.
Her right arm was completely useless. She couldn't stand up. It was her right leg that she wasn't able to get any balance with. So I knew immediately that what was happening, she was having a stroke.
Paramedics rushed her to the emergency room. The stroke team quickly pinpointed the problem, a blood clot in one of the most crucial arteries in the brain.
There was an area of brain that wasn't getting enough blood flow, and there was an area of blockage directly within her middle cerebral artery, which was right inside the head. The brain needs oxygen, the brain needs sugar. The longer part of the brain doesn't get it, the more likely it is to die.
Clots cause more than 80% of strokes. Before 1996, there wasn't much doctors could do about them. But now there is hope. It's called TPA. TPA is a clot-busting drug, but it should be given within 3 hours of stroke onset. It was 9 o'clock when Janine felt her first symptoms. Just before midnight, barely inside the treatment window, the stroke team administered the powerful drug. TPA works by activating a clot-dissolving enzyme in our own blood. When TPA enters the bloodstream, circulation brings it to the site and the drug begins attacking the blockage.
In subsequent testing, we could see rather quickly that the clot partially dissolved and the blood vessel opened up.
And I think it was day 6 I walked out of the hospital.
Like nothing had happened.
Feeling pretty much the
She
same
was
as I
she was
had
probably
been.
90–95% at that point.
Oh, look. Maggie!
Maggie!
Maggie, hi! Hello!
And then over the course of the next 4, 5, 6 weeks, the rest of it came back, and the pieces that were slower coming back were the fine motor skills.
Ooh, that is It's almost like it didn't happen.
Yeah, it went from being horrifying to being gone
Because
in
of
a
the
very
TPA.
short period of time.
There she goes.
If you have a clot, and the clot is a fresh clot,
Come on.
the TPA is very dramatic and can be life-saving, can be brain-saving.
Come on, Maggie.
For Janine Kurth, TPA was a miracle drug. And there's a lesson in her story. If you think you may be having a stroke, get to the emergency room right away.
Maybe less terrified this time.
Well, I know it's happening, so.
All right.
Okay, this could get messy. I've taken the blood clot out, and see? The blood flows again. Now watch. Okay, with my handy blade, I'm going to damage this blood vessel.
Oh my gosh, woo! Can you see this? When blood leaks into the brain from a rupture or a break, it's called a hemorrhagic stroke. Can somebody please turn the water off? Whew. That was scary.
Hemorrhagic strokes are especially dangerous. Though less than 1/5 of brain attacks are hemorrhagic, they account for about 1/3 of stroke-related deaths.
Be careful.
On September 8, 1998, a blood vessel in Debbie Leary's brain ruptured, causing a hemorrhagic stroke. With hemorrhagic strokes, surgery is sometimes an option, but the neurosurgeon told Debbie's family that they faced a tough choice.
The family came into the intensive care unit with the neurosurgeon, but it was clear that my odds were not good. What I heard for a number was less than 20% chance of success.
If they did nothing, Debbie would die within 24 hours. But if she had surgery and it failed, she could lose her ability to speak, be paralyzed, or die.
I said to my family, "You look like you're here for someone's wake," and they didn't laugh. And I thought, okay, that's not good.
The neurosurgeon opened Debbie's skull and sealed the ruptured artery with 2 metal clips. Against all odds, the surgery worked, and Debbie Leary survived her hemorrhagic stroke.
I'm still, almost 2 years later, in what I call the honeymoon phase. I mean, I am still in awe of the space I take up.
So we're doing a program on strokes. Now, if you or someone next to you were having a stroke, do you know what the symptoms would be?
Stiffness.
Stiffness where?
Stiffness in the arms.
Perhaps there can be initially like a thump kind of in the brain.
When Discovery Health Channel and the American Heart Association conducted a nationwide survey, they found that 63% of those polled said they would not know the early signs of a stroke.
Do you know what the symptoms of a stroke would be?
Maybe tired.
They have a headache. I think it's a very severe headache and a stroke.
I've never really thought of it, something maybe I should.
As you can see, a lot of people aren't real clear about the symptoms of a brain attack, but it's important to know what they are because knowing them can save your life. So listen up. Here are the common symptoms of a brain attack. Oh, and keep your eyes on Royal. He'll help you remember the symptoms. One sign is sudden numbness or weakness in the face, arm, or leg, especially on one side of the body. And another is sudden trouble seeing with one or both of your eyes. Then there's sudden confusion or trouble speaking or understanding. Or sudden trouble walking or dizziness or lack of balance or coordination. Another is a sudden severe headache with no known cause. If you experience any of these symptoms, take it seriously. It's an emergency, so call 911.
As you're about to see, people can lower their risk of having a stroke. They can do it by lifestyle changes, with medication, or through the wizardry of high-tech procedures. The key is knowing what special risks you have and then acting to lower the odds. Harold Skeet can tell you 5 things that put him at risk for stroke.
First of all, I'm 73, will be 74 in November. Secondly, Afro-American. Third, diabetes. Fourth, hypertension. And I've been told that I of late had developed serious coronary artery disease. And that I don't like to talk about it at all. It's frightening.
Harold Skeet has an additional risk factor. About 15 years ago, he endured a severe brain attack, and having one stroke puts you at greater